Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Suleyman and this is SAZ. This is the channel where we talk about the money business and the business of money. Today we'll be talking about how to calculate your zakat. Now, before I even get started, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe and share this video so that we can share the knowledge around. So the first thing that we should ask ourselves is, what is zakat? Basically, zakat is one of the pillars of Islam and it is obligatory to anybody who is eligible to pay that zakat. Now zakat, you can think of it as two things. On one side there's tax and on the other side is charity. So zakat is a mixture of both of these things. And I say it's like a tax because it's obligatory to all those who are eligible to pay zakat to pay them, failure to which there are consequences. On the other side, it's like a charity because there are specific groups of people that can receive this zakat. So at the end of the day, it's important for all the Muslims who are eligible to pay their zakat. And in the Holy Quran, we'll find that zakat and salah are intertwined in not less than 20 verses. And the word zakat repeats itself almost 82 times. This shows the magnitude of what zakat is and why we should be paying zakat. So, who is eligible to pay zakat? Basically, zakat is payable on your net worth. And we need to calculate your net worth. And then there is a threshold that if you cross this threshold in terms of the value of your net worth, you are eligible to pay zakat. Now, this threshold is what we call nisab. According to the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions that the nisab, or this threshold, is equivalent to 612 grams of silver or about 87 grams of gold. Now, if your net worth is more than the nisab, then you're eligible to pay zakat. Aside from you just passing this threshold, there are other conditions that you must meet. First of all, you must have attained puberty. And the second one is that you are of sane mind, meaning you're not crazy. Now, the nisab in itself, in today's value, if I can say, with regards to the silver, the 612 grams of silver, it's about $500. And with regards to the 87 grams of gold, or the 3 ounces of gold, it's about 6,070. Now here you might be wondering, because now we have two nisabs, basically. We have two thresholds. Is it $500 or is it $6,070? Basically, majority of the scholars agree that we pay or we use the lower value. So in this case, it's the silver value. And the silver value, we've just said, it's around $500. You can do this in Excel and I'll show you how we can do this, but you can clearly see now from this one where the nisab value is as of today, because this Excel actually gets the data online to understand what is the spot price for silver, what is the spot price for gold, and then automatically we can understand what is the nisab value for today so that you can do your calculations. Before we go on to understand how to actually calculate your zakat, I want to tell you that in case you feel all this is overwhelming and you'll just want somebody to help you or give you a hand so that you just come up with the final figure of how much you're supposed to pay, you can always reach out to us here at SAZ Biz Consult. We're actually doing this as part of our Sadaqatul Jariyah, and we are not accepting any form of payment to help you do your zakat calculations. So now let's understand how we calculate our zakat. So the first thing that we want to bear in mind is cash. So just think of a category of just cash. And this can be cash at hand in your pockets, under the bed or anywhere else, and also cash in your mobile money, your M-Pesas and everything else. And lastly, also cash in the bank or anywhere else where you have cash. Now what you'll do is you add the value of all this cash. If you want to make it easier, you can create another column where you multiply the value of this cash times 2.5, and then you get the amount of zakat that is liable to be paid on this cash, right? But right now we are focusing on the value of the cash. The second thing that we'll be looking at is precious metals and stones. So if you have either silver, gold, necklaces, jewelry, and everything that is precious, and you have not worn it for a full year. And when I say a full year, it's a full lunar year, not the Gregorian calendar that we use, but rather the Islamic lunar year. Then it's eligible to be paid zakat. Now, if, for example, it's gold, then you will estimate the value of this gold. So in today's pricing or the market pricing, let's say this chain is around $1,000, then now you'll multiply it by 2.5%, and then you'll end up finding that $25 is to be paid upon this chain that you have not worn for a full year. And the same is applicable to all the precious metals that you have, as well as the gemstones and any other precious thing that you have. After that, we'll be looking at real estate. Now, in real estate, you have real estate for two particular purposes, the ones that are zakat applicable. If you have a house and you live inside it, then it's not zakat applicable. But if, for example, you have a house that you have tenants in, so it's bringing in rental income, then that is zakat applicable. And basically what you do is that you count 12 months or the previous year's rent that you received, you deduct all the expenses that you did for that particular property, and then what is left, 2.5% of it should be paid zakat. If it's real estate that you just bought, you want to flip it, meaning you held it, renovated it and everything, then basically the value of that house is what is applicable to pay zakat. So if that house is worth 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, then 2.5% of it is supposed to be paid as zakat. The fourth thing that is important for us to note is investments. So here I want to group all the investments whereby you have a specific amount of money that you've put into the investments, and the investment either brings you back either dividends or that money you'll recoup it later and whatever. But what happens in all that category is basically you'll put the value of your investment somewhere, then you multiply it by 2.5%, and whatever you find, that is the much you should be paying for your zakat. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is agriculture. Now here in agriculture, there are basically three different types or categories in which zakat is applicable. The first one is whereby you have a farm, and then from the farm, you basically do everything. And when I say everything, the most important thing to note is that you irrigate the farm yourself. So you actually have pipes and water, and you actually irrigate the plants. That one, you're supposed to pay 5% of the produce that you'll harvest. And a pro tip is actually when you're harvesting, just separate 5% of it and pay it as zakat when you harvest, and not wait for a full year, then pay it later. Another category of the farming is whereby you depend on God's rain. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down his rain, and then your farm gets the water from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rain. You are supposed to pay 10% of the produce you'll harvest. And lastly, there's a mixed method whereby you're saying, no, this is the rainy season, let Allah irrigate for me, and the dry season I'll irrigate. Then you're supposed to pay 7.5% of the produce. Another category is your business. Now, with regards to your business, there are two key things that you need to note. The first one is the petty cash, meaning how much money does the business have? The cash amount that the business has, then 2.5% of it should be paid in terms of zakat. The other side is basically now your goods in progress as well as your stock. So, for example, you sell juice, for example. So all what you're preparing in terms of the juice, then that which is in the pipeline of making the juice, you count that one. And also the stock. So how many juice do you already have there? So you also count that. So you can think of it even if you have a shop or something. So basically anything that is being created so that it can be sold, and also anything on your shelves that is still there waiting to be sold, all that, you count 2.5% of it, and then you pay zakat on that one. The last category that we'll focus on today is animals. So basically, a rule of thumb is that 2.5% of the value of those animals is supposed to be paid zakat. So if you have 40 sheep, then one sheep you give out for zakat, meaning it's 2.5%. Other scholars state that It's not the sheep that you give out as zakah, but rather even the monetary value of one of those sheep that you give out as zakah. Now, once you've finished all these categories, you can now add all this, first of all, so that you understand all my assets are this much. So before we go and cross-check it to the nisab, there are two things that we need to check: account receivables and account payables. So account receivables is the money that is owed to you, the money that is coming in. And if it's coming in within the same, if I can say, calendar year, then you have to pay zakat on that money. So you'll add it there first. And then if there's money that you are supposed to pay, let's say you haven't paid your rent, you haven't paid your child's school fees, you take out from this amount. So you have your total asset, you add the receivables and take out the payables. And then what is left now, you compare it to that nisab, the $500 we were talking about in the beginning. Now, if whatever you have here is more than $500, and here I'm talking about the value of the assets, not the times 2.5 figure that we have, the value of the assets. If it's more than $500, then now you pay 2.5% of this. So if you continued with the three columns as we had, so this column, whatever is written here, that is what now you will give out as zakat. So now we have understood how you can calculate your zakat. We'll link an Excel file at the description of this video so that you can download it and maybe you can use it. But also we can have a follow-up video where we show how you can use this particular template so that you can calculate your zakat. Now, when should you be paying this zakat? Majority of our Muslims brothers and sisters actually prefer to pay it during the month of Ramadan because the good deeds are multiplied tenfold. But it's important to note that you can pay zakat anytime. And according to the scholars, you should start paying your zakat the moment you hit this threshold, the nisab. So meaning your wealth is more than $500, that moment you actually reach the $500, we count 1 year and then we start paying zakat on that date every year for the rest of your life. But if you never were keen in terms of calculating or understanding what your nisab was or what your wealth was and everything, you can just select one date within the lunar calendar, not July 3rd or your birthday or whatever in this particular calendar, but the Islamic calendar. So it can be the 1st of Muharram, the 3rd of Dhul Qa'dah, or even the 20th of Ramadan. But it's this date that you'll start paying zakat every year going forward. Now, who is eligible to receive this zakah? We can find the 8 categories of people who are eligible to receive this zakah in Surah At-Tawbah, which is the 9th chapter of the Holy Quran, and in verse number 60. And these 8 categories of people are the poor, meaning al-masakin, the needy, al-fuqara, and then the zakat administrators, the people who actually go and find and collect the zakat and also to distribute it. Another category of people who are supposed to receive this are those whose hearts are to be reconciled, those in bondage, the debt-ridden. So somebody who has a lot of debts, basically we can bail them out using the zakat. We can give this zakat in the way of Allah, meaning that if there are projects, for example, the construction of masjids, then you can give your zakat there. And lastly, the wayfarer. And this is somebody who is traveling but is in difficulty. He might be rich, but during that particular travel, he's in difficulty and they can receive this zakat. So there you have it. Paying zakat should not be difficult. And also, we should not assume that because we don't know how to calculate zakat payment, that we are not able to pay the zakat. If you have any trouble in terms of calculating your zakat, we are here for you. We will calculate this free of charge. If you want to give us a coffee, of course, we can accept, but it's free of charge for us to calculate your zakat, and we'll give you how much you're supposed to pay. And it's up to you now to find these 8 categories of people for you to pay your zakat. If you found this video helpful and you really want to help us, please give this video a like and also just write something in the comment section, because the algorithm favors such videos and it will push this video to more brothers and sisters so that they can also benefit in terms of paying the zakat. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and until the next time, build your future today.